So a whole bunch of images have leaked online uh, through different sources and stuff. A lot of them seem like they come from Chinese sources. Uh, we have a whole bunch here, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to segment them and talk about them kind of like individually. And the first one that I want to talk about is the Dinobots, specifically Swoop and Slug, or Slag as we know them.
Hmm.
One thing that it tells me right away seeing these packaging images, and it gives us really good looks at the alt modes and the robot modes, specifically Swoop, because we never really got to see Swoop's robot mode proper up to this point. Um, One thing that a lot of people have been discussing is the choice of color for Swoop's chest. He has a blue chest here, and the thing is that what a lot of people don't realize when it comes to the character of Swoop from Generation One is he kind of has this like where his animation model was blue, his G1 toy was red,
Uh,
and then the original Diaclon Swoop from back in the day had a blue chest. So I already see where this is going. It's the classic case of here's what Hasbro is going to do, Takara is going to do something else.
hmm.
So if you want your blue chest show accurate Swoop, you get Hasbro. If you want your toy accurate chest, Takara will probably have the red one. It comes with those combiner pieces and a sword that looks exactly like his original G1 sword. So, kudos to you, uh, Hasbro.
Hmm.
Great molding. Looks like the old G1 sword. This is great. I mean, hey, we wanted our Dinobots for a while, and now we're finally getting them after Slew's a third party.
Yeah.
Just to jump onto the other side here now with Dinobot Slug or Slag in this case, it's the same thing. The choice of aesthetic here is they went with a black face, which is accurate to the American release of the toy, but in the cartoon he had a red face.
Mm.
And in the Canadian release, the Canadian Slag, which is pretty limited, had also a red face. So here's going to be the same thing. We're going to get the black face with the red eyes. The Japanese version will get the red face probably.
Mm.
And again, he comes with a gun, which is very similar to that of what he came with, and a combiner piece again. Just the one thing that's interesting that I feel up to this point they've yet to talk about, and it's funny, when I was at HasCon, I don't remember them ever mentioning this, but how these Prime Masters attach to these deluxe figures. They all have their combiner pieces. And these combiner pieces, they fit on the alt modes in different ways that just kind of hang on as some kind of like, a foot that kind of looks like a gun, but not quite, or a hand that kind of looks like a gun, but not quite. But they also all attach to the chests of every single one of these characters. And it acts kind of like the combiner piece attaches to the chest, and then you could put these Prime Masters in this combiner piece to power up the character, kind of like a
Ah.
Power Master. That's kind of the gimmick that's going on here,
Okay.
and it's across all the price points. If you look at some of the other characters, which we'll get into afterwards, it's the same idea where they attach their combiner piece to their chest, and then that gives them the ability to then plug in a Prime Master to power them up. And it's like a Power Master kind of gimmick that's going on here, using a Headmaster head.
Hmm.
I could kind of see them using this idea later on if they want to make Power Master characters.
Right. Right.
They could then now do so, because then they could straight up just have someone just attached to the chest like a Power Master. Um, but yeah, it's cool. I dig these Dinobots a lot. These will definitely be a day one purchase. This is something that we've been asking for a while. We kind of had Deluxe Grimlocks and Voyager Grimlocks for the past 10 years, with all the other members really not getting anything. So after all this waiting, it's about time. But if I feel that if you're looking for a very specific color scheme, wait it out, because I'm almost 200% certain Takara is going to go a drastic different direction for each one of these in the ways I just mentioned. Anything you feel about these?
About time.
Oh, definitely.
Third party's been running rampant with these guys, and I'm glad to see them with their ball joints It's they're back, but in ball joint form and
But
combiner mode form. It's
well, that's the one thing I'm happy about too is that they still managed to have really good robot modes and alt modes and still house some kind of a combiner gimmick, which could in a lot of ways
yeah,
hinder because I mean you look at the previous Combiner Wars stuff. A lot of those Autobot cars kind of all had the same
deal the same yeah,
transformation. They all had the same shape, the same kind of transformation. So this time around, it looks like they're not stuck to one kind of. It's almost like a modern day Scramble City,
mm,
where a lot of those old Scramble City G1 molds had a really very they were stuck in their engineering block that they were in.
yeah,
These guys, it doesn't look like this is the
yeah,
case. It
exactly.
looks like Swoop could be Swoop and thin and have wings, and Slag or Slug could be Slag or Slug and still have that wider. I mean, you put these next to their G1 counterparts, and they're pretty much articulated examples of them,
Yeah, exactly. So
which is
just
great.
similar to how the six shot was basically, or the
Oh yeah,
Soundwave. Uh,
well, when you have a
yeah,
toy that was already very blocky to begin with, you know, and considering that the modern deluxe price point today, it doesn't have the same budget that it did, say, maybe 5 years ago. It still lends to it having at least a good looking product because compared next to the blocky old G1 toy, it matches it. But you put a few more extra joints in there, so you get kind of what G1 fans wanted for years. They wanted modernized G1 toys,
hmm,
while not going. The original classics line was modern G1 toys, but with a different interpretation.
yeah,
Look at Grimlock. Look at almost a majority of the classics line from 2006 moving onward into Universe 2.0. A lot of them were interpretations
hmm,
rather than being more slavish to the G1 design. In this case, this is slavishly being close to the G1 design, and I have no problem with that.
me neither. Me neither. I'm digging it, and more stuff for Michael Bell to sign.